Skip happens. Wanderlust. Wanderlust.
On a budget.
On a budget. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. I got to get that right. On a budget. That's all. Sorry, I don't know if the music's a little loud. You got to speak up a little bit. They have never been behind a microphone before in their lives. Right?
Not entirely true. Maybe.
I mean, there
Maybe
was
true.
chorus. But...
Oh, so we have Danny and we have Caitlin, and Danny. I gotta tell you, this is really cool. Danny's actually like family,
Yeah.
but Danny does a really cool thing, and it's called Wanderlust on a budget, which is, and I don't know, so I'm gonna let you tell everybody. I have a good idea, but I think I'll let you tell everybody right now. So Wanderlust on, why did that go like that? There we go. Wanderlust on a budget is what?
So Wanderlust on a Budget is a travel blog that I started almost 3 years ago. And I really started diving in more professionally in the last year or so. But I started it because I used to travel a lot. I lived in Australia for a while, wanted to see as much as I could while I was living there. And then as a way to keep in touch with my family back home, I would write some stories about what I was doing so they could check in on me and see what was going on.
I never knew you lived in Australia. What? You've been like here for how many holidays, and you've never told me that you spent some time in Australia.
Well, you clearly haven't read the blog then, Skip.
Well, I read the first few sentences.
Oh, okay.
But no, I have a lot going on. I get it. But no, seriously, I didn't know you lived there.
Yeah.
So how long did you live in Australia?
A year and a half.
Really?
Yeah.
Was it a family thing or was it just you?
It was just me. I lived with a host family there.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
All right.
So now I'm going to talk about Australia.
Okay, go ahead.
So,
That's what we're here for.
when I was in college, my cousins hosted an Australian foreign exchange student. And we became good friends. She was just a couple years younger than me.
Okay.
And then when I graduated college, I was looking for something to do, kind of like a gap year, mix it up a little bit after college, and talked to her. And she invited me to come and live with her family for a while. So I went out there for a year and a half.
That is so cool.
Applied to grad school, went to one of the best universities in Australia.
Whereabouts in Australia were you?
I lived in Melbourne.
Really? Is that so? Where's that when you look at the map of the country? Is that?
It is.
Is it near Sydney?
It's about an 8 to 10 hour drive, depending on which routes you take, from Sydney. So it's down still in the southeast corner.
Do you see kangaroos?
Yes. Yeah, I'm not kidding.
Really?
Drive down the highway, you can see kangaroos, just like you can see deer here.
Really? And what was the lifestyle there like? Because I know to go to Australia, that's like, what, a long plane ride?
Yeah.
What, 16 hours, 20 hours?
It's at least a day.
All right, so
At
there
least
you
24
go.
hours.
Okay, all right. Wow.
But yeah, no, I mean, life is very similar here with like little differences that you'd notice if you actually live there long enough. But it's also a lot more laid back.
Like, what do you mean?
Here in the U.S. culture, it's a lot like, you work and you work and you work.
And we get
But
stressed
over there,
and we get stressed and more stressed.
But down there it just felt like a lot less stress. People basically work in order to have fun and in order to travel and in order to do whatever they wanted to do.
Wow.
So it's just a much more relaxed lifestyle.
What was the cost of living like? I mean, you were with, it is pricey.
Yeah, it's pricey.
Okay, I thought so. But you're living with a host family. That's
Yeah.
pretty cool. You have that opportunity.
Yeah.
And
so,
the girl,
Yeah.
she had that opportunity to be here as
Right.
well.
so we basically just switched.
Yeah. So that got you going with the travel thing.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I did like a personal blog that only a couple family members, like my uncle, looked forward to them. But he looked forward to my articles every week to see what I was doing. But that was really personal. And then, several years went by back in Syracuse, and then I kept traveling. Got bit by the travel bug while I was over in Australia. And kept traveling, and people would say, you really need to write a blog. You need to be a travel agent. You need to share your experiences and what you do and how you afford to do it so much. So after our wedding, a couple years ago, I was looking for another project to work on and decided, you know what, I just want to do this. This is my passion. And I actually had a cousin who wasn't doing very well, was in the hospital.
Yeah.
And inspired me to do what I wanted to do with my life. And
you're doing it.
I'm working on it.
You're
Working
doing
on
it
a lot.
Now, you worked for Syracuse University for quite a while.
I did. Yes.
And then you left that job to do another thing. But
Yeah.
you're also traveling a lot. So
Yes. So I was
And-
lucky
yeah.
at SU. My last year, I was working for an international student program. So I got to do some international trips, and I got to do
Right.
some recruiting in a couple different countries around the world. So that was really cool.
What was one of, let's say you're traveling, some of your great experiences? What if you could go back to one location, what would that location be?
That's tough.
Don't do that to me.
That's Caitlin over there. Caitlin has traveled
with me.
with Danny. So,
Yeah, we've done a bunch of trips together. What's
Wow.
your favorite?
yeah.
Out of the trips we've been
Yes.
on, or the other ones?
What the
The
trips
ones-
we've been on?
Well, my favorite part was China, but I was with Josh,
not
for that one.
Why China?
Her husband Josh and I got
Right.
to go to.
He's hiding back there.
He's over here
Yeah.
drinking a beer. He's good. He's good.
We flew in very early. We got into China at 7:00 in the morning and decided to do a excursion that they have if you have layovers, and it was the Great Wall of China.
Wow.
And we got there, and all the pictures that you see that people take, there's usually a ton of people. We were the first ones on the Great Wall, and there was no one else.
What do you mean first ones?
Like, we were the first people up there.
Really?
Yeah.
For that day, yeah.
For that
Oh,
day.
for that day.
For that
Okay.
day. Not
First
the whole thing. So, that was like the coolest thing. But Iceland is probably one of my favorites
Yeah.
that we went on with our friend Claire.
That was not all that long ago, right?
It
It was
a
exactly a year ago.
a year ago.
Yeah.
Time flies. Time flies. I remember seeing the pics from Iceland.
It's beautiful.
Is it beautiful,
It
as
was
they say?
amazing.
Is
Really
it?
beautiful.
Why is it amazing?
It's
I'm
just
going to keep
pretty.
asking why, because
fine.
I'm lucky if I got out of North Syracuse.
We go to Outer
it's just-
Banks, you know.
Yeah, we do. Yeah, the Outer Banks, but it's nothing like going to China. It's nothing like going to Iceland.
It was
Yeah.
definitely the coldest place I've traveled, but it was a lot of fun.
When you say
Yes.
cold, what do you mean cold?
Just temperature wise. I've been.
I know that's what you mean, but like temperature wise, how cold was it?
It was actually warmer than it was here when we went.
Exactly.
Okay, so then it wasn't that
It wasn't
cold.
that cold.
That's true.
It was cold.
That's true.
But
That's
it was
true.
still colder in Syracuse than
Yeah,
it was in
yeah.
Iceland in January.
Yes.
Wow. And how do you get to do all this, Danny?
Smart planning.
Now, all right. Josh was saying how you can like find the right airfare. You know all the tricks. You know.
Yes.
How do you do that? Can you
Yeah.
reveal some of your
Some of my
secrets?
secrets. I've shared quite a bit on the blog, so you'll get more information there as well.
Okay, tell everybody where the blog is if
oh,
somebody
yeah.
wanted to go right now.
It's wanderlust-onabudget.com. And I'll have it shared. I'll comment on this later. So then you'll be able to see it and get a link to the blog. Yes, Wanderlust on a budget.
Over in front of you.
So there's lots of different tips and tricks out there. You talk to different people, you're going to get different answers.
Right, right.
You know, there's a lot of people who believe in like the credit card churning and doing the rewards with that. And I do a little bit of that, but I basically do a lot of research and a lot of planning. Kayak is one of my favorite apps to use as far as looking for flights and finding the best deals.
Okay.
Because on Kayak, you can go in and you can put in your home airport, and then it'll show you the cheapest flights from your home airport. You can put in your dates and no location, and it'll be like, here's the cheapest place to go then. You know, you can put in a location and no date, so you can kind of be super flexible depending on what criteria is most important.
And a little
to you.
side note, kayak has nothing to do
No.
with what we're talking about here.
Really.
You're just what you do, and that's where
Yeah.
you go. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Google Flights is great too. So it's a lot of research trying to figure out what the best tricks are. Another one
It's tricky.
yeah, it's not easy, and a lot of people don't want to put in the time. They're like, I just want to book a flight and be done. Whereas I'll spend weeks and creating color-coded spreadsheets
Yep.
that everyone else
Got a
has seen.
3-ring binder that's nothing but
Yeah. So I do
Flights.
a lot of planning. I look
Yeah.
for the best deals. You know, I try to stack as many discount codes and affiliate things and just different things as I can.
and a lot of this information is on your blog,
Yeah.
on your website
Of course.
at Wanderlust
Yeah.
dash
on a budget.com
on a budget.
or on
One-
Facebook or on
Yeah.
Instagram.
Yeah, there you go. Instagram. You and I need to talk. I got to get better at that.
Yeah.
So, yeah, because you,
Speaking
you,
Insta.
you obviously know a lot about what we're doing here and the internet and and all the
Yeah.
good stuff like that, which we all need to take advantage of, the social media. But,
Yeah.
finding airfares is really, really difficult. We're going to go to Fort Myers spring training, and what I got online was one thing, but when I went to the airport, I saved myself another $114
What'd you
just
do?
by going to the airport. It was crazy. I had an American Airlines certificate for $650. And so 3 round trip tickets to West Palm Beach came to $656 something. I went over to the airport to pick up the tickets because you got to mail in the voucher. Okay. And I said, I don't want to mail it in. It might get lost in the mail. Can I take it right to the airport? They said yes. I went over to the American Airlines ticket counter at the Syracuse airport, went there. The guy did all that. And he said, look, yep, you got the same flights. I saved you a few bucks. I got $114 back.
Nice.
And we got 3 round trip tickets. So I don't know.
Nice.
It's just, I don't know if that had anything to do with me going to the airport and doing it that way or whatever.
you
Or the
never
guy
know.
just was like, yeah, okay.
She found Josh and my tickets to Japan for $400.
700.
Was it
So one of my best trips.
Round trip.
One of my best tricks, yes.
round trip?
Is instead because Syracuse is technically an international airport because
We went
you know
from Syracuse
go
to New York.
from Canada, Toronto. But it doesn't really go anywhere else that's international. So I always try to book flights from Syracuse to Boston or Syracuse to New York separately from a trip from, New York to Tokyo, for example, which is exactly what I did for Caitlin and my husband. So we were looking up direct from Syracuse to Tokyo with a layover, and the price was at least $1,500 for when we were planning on going. So I did quite a bit of research back and forth, different airports, and we ended up booking 2 separate round trip tickets. So Syracuse to New York to Tokyo, and it ended up being just under $700.
Round trip.
I forgot about the
Yeah.
Syracuse
That's
part.
amazing.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing to do that. So you booked it Syracuse to New York and then separately from New York to Tokyo,
Yeah.
and you saved all that money.
Yeah.
There's a good idea. That's
Yeah.
I'll check that out sometime.
I've done that for Brazil, and I've done that for Paris as well.
Now on your blog, you write about the different restaurants.
I read about lots of stuff.
You write about anything and everything that you've seen.
Yeah.
What is like some of the coolest things that you've seen?
I bet Caitlin will agree with me on this one.
All right, let's go.
One of the coolest things I've ever done.
These two are like 2 peas in a pod over here. I'm just saying. Go ahead.
One of the coolest things we've ever done is when, so it was Caitlin, Josh, my husband, and I that were in Tokyo.
Japan.
So I was actually over there for work. And I figured, hey, I'm going to Japan. Might as well make it a vacation. So I was out there for a week. Caitlin and Josh flew out the following weekend. So they had a week with me, and I took a week vacation. And one of the first things that we did was do go-karting in the streets of Tokyo.
It was
In the
amazing.
street.
Go-karting in the streets
was
of Tokyo.
amazing.
Like with regular traffic. With
Yeah.
Driving
Yeah.
in the lanes with cars and buses.
Dressed up in costumes.
Isn't that crazy though? I mean, every picture I've seen of Tokyo is almost like New York City, where there's nothing but taxi cabs and just tons of vehicles. I'd be scared to death to take a ride in a go-kart.
Yeah, but the difference in Tokyo
road.
is
What?
everybody is so polite.
Yes.
They're
Really?
much nicer than
Yes.
people in New York City.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you find that a lot? That wherever you go, that there's a whole different mentality, there's a whole different attitude.
Everywhere I've been.
Yeah,
It's
I
been
mean,
like that.
that's one of my favorite things about traveling is learning different cultures, experiencing different
Right.
things, different people.
I love that. I think that's cool.
And that's why I worked in international education for so long, is
Mm-hmm,
because I loved learning about my students and their cultures from all over the world. But yeah, I mean, the culture is
People are
the
a lot
reason.
more open to like share their culture. Because when I was in Thailand, they were
Okay, now
all-
it's Thailand.
no, but they were all like, we want you to know how we do things. Like,
Right,
we want to show you
right,
this.
right.
Where a lot of the times here, we just kind of stick to ourselves.
That's amazing. That now it's Thailand. Seriously, that is just amazing, amazing. Were you ever like nervous traveling abroad like that? The world is a very scary place right now, and I feel safe here in the confines of my Skip Happen studio. But if I was to fly over, overseas or something right now, I'd be nervous. Do you ever feel like I don't know if we should be doing this?
honestly not that much.
No?
No.
No.
You feel safe?
Yeah. I mean, I think it's partly, the experiences I've had thus far in traveling
Everything's been good.
around the world.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I've been safe everywhere I've been. I've never really felt unsafe. But as well as, you know, meeting all these different people, I've met hundreds and thousands of students from around the world. And one of the best parts is learning about their cultures, learning about how kind they are and how much they want to learn about you and they want you to learn about them. And I think there's so many stereotypes in the world about thinking that people are this way and everyone that lives in this country is going to act this way. But the people from every place I've met have been nothing but wonderful.
And they've
so kind.
welcomed you with open arms.
Yeah.
You know, just being an American kind of scares me a little bit. Don't take this in the wrong way, but to go in certain parts of the world right now, and if they find out that you're an American, I'd be afraid of, you know, maybe some retaliation for whatever reason. So
You just
you
have
never
to
know.
look at where you're going before you go.
Yeah.
You know, be smart. Always be smart about traveling. But I was in the Middle East. I traveled over. I was in United Arab Emirates and Kuwait for another work trip, an old work trip. And I had a lot of family and friends who were really concerned. They're like, "Oh, do you really feel safe going over there?" They asked my husband, like, "Are you sure it's okay for her to go there?" I'm like, well, she's her own woman. She can do what she wants. But I didn't feel unsafe at all. And I went over there and I met with former students of mine.
Very
You know,
cool.
they welcomed me in like family. They took me to their favorite restaurants. You know, it was wonderful.
let's talk about some of the food around the world.
Ooh, food.
Yeah.
I like food.
You guys are foodies?
Food's great.
We're all foodies, right?
yeah.
One
It's
way
not
or another, we're all foodies. So, I mean, tell me about like some of your favorite food when you travel. Where do you go? Where do you get it?
The best is ask locals.
Yeah.
That's always when you're going to find the best food. You know, ask a local if you know one or come across one. You know, if you go, ask your cab driver where do they like to go eat, or your Uber driver or
Do you
whatever.
trust them?
Yeah.
Okay.
They're not going to tell you. I mean,
They want you to come back eventually.
they want
Well,
you-
that's true. That's true. But I mean, how do they speak English? They understand English? Uber drivers, Lyft drivers, most do?
most places I've been in the world,
Yeah.
English has really not been a problem.
Okay.
The only place it was ever a little bit difficult, only knowing English, was Brazil. But I was actually really lucky in Brazil. I actually had several former students, a lot of friends down there that helped me out. But that was the only place where I could go in a restaurant and the wait staff had no English. Most places in the world, it's such an international language now of business and tourism that most people have enough English to get by and have conversations.
I think that was the same in Thailand. Like we had a tour guide that
that would help.
spoke the language, and there were certain restaurants where it was just Thai, and it was fine.
World, it's such an international.
Whoa, hey, that's my phone. Sorry. I got it. We're communicating.
All right.
We're good. So, so you said Thai food was? I'm sorry, I was.
No, in Thailand, like at the restaurants, there
I
are
wasn't
some
paying attention.
that don't
I know.
that don't speak English, but we had a tour guide with us.
Yeah, that's right.
But
and
a
he
lot
took
of
care of
it,
that.
like the menus do, I don't know if it was the same in Brazil, but the menus normally have English in it. So you can always, even if they don't know what you're saying, like you can just point
Yeah.
and they'll know what you want.
Cool.
I mean,
That'd
even
be
if
me. I'd be taking the menu and going, you know,
that's
just pointing to
him.
it.
That's why he's not on camera.
That's all right.
But even if a menu is not in English, there's so many good apps out there that literally you can take your phone, use the camera, and it will translate the words
yeah, I know.
right onto your phone for you.
And how handy is a smartphone
Amazing.
for a traveler like you?
Amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And with all the apps that you can get, it's got to be just phenomenal.
And
being
most
able
places have Wi-Fi now, so you don't even have to really connect to like a cellular plan.
What's your
I don't
husband
know. I don't
holding?
know what you're doing over there, hon.
He's got to understand the phone is only a couple of inches, and we're like, you know, so
It's only so big.
I don't know what you're saying still. Google. Yeah, I know Google
oh,
Translate.
okay, all right.
Yeah,
Google.
that's what we're talking about. Yeah, Google Translate's great
He does talk.
sometimes.
Sometimes. Oh man, you know, just really cool what you've done. So wanderlust-onabudget.com. You can get all this information, and I started to read a little bit of it to read
The
up on
first
this.
few sentences.
Yeah.
I did.
He's got that far.
Oh, you didn't forget that, did you? But yeah, it's every trip you take, you write about.
Yeah,
And it
I
ends
mean,
up
I have
on
a
your
backlog
blog.
still
Yeah,
of things
no,
I
no,
need to
no.
write about, but yeah.
How do you? I mean, you took a lot of trips for work,
Mm-hmm.
but do you get people that see your blog and say, this is really cool, she writes great, this makes a lot of sense, we'd love to, we'll pay for her to come on over and sit in our restaurant and write about us, or so, you know what I'm saying? I mean, does it save you some money with that? Because your blog is good. All kidding aside, it's very good.
We had that nice.
And anybody that travels should be reading your blog, wanderlust-onabudget.com. That's the website.
Yeah. But, I mean, also having a graduate degree in grammar and English definitely helps me be a good writer.
Don't listen to me. I work in radio. My English sucks. So.
But yeah, I've actually, the first while in my blog, it was just kind of a side hobby. Every now and then I'd go and write something. And now with all the networking and the experiences I've had, and I've learned so much about how to actually run a blog and how to do so professionally, I look back at those first articles I wrote and I'm like, they're terrible.
Why were they terrible?
I mean, there's so many different ways. Like the information, like I could have given much better information. I could have explained it better, but also I could have written it better. There's certain ways you have to write in order for your pages to rank on Google, in order for people to like it as much. So I'm going back and rewriting, editing all of the old articles I have as well to make them better and, accurate, up-to-date information.
And what you do for a living complements what you do here.
Yeah. So
tell me a little bit about that.
Sure. So I am a community manager at an influencer marketing platform.
Which is what?
Perlu.
Okay, but what is like?
What does it mean?
What does it mean? Because me and everybody else just went, what?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what most people do when I say that.
All right. Yeah, exactly. Well, you got the reaction here. What does that mean?
So basically, the website and the company that I work for, to break it down to simplest words that people understand, is connecting brands and companies with bloggers and YouTubers and Instagrammers, other influencers, really, to do marketing purposes. So there's this whole new realm of influencer marketing, and that's getting people to write about your products, write about your destination, take pictures, basically getting influencers and social media to spread the message for you. And so I work on the website. I do a whole lot of different activities on there. But it's also helped me to network so much and get to meet lots of other bloggers, whether virtually or in person, learn from them, get best practices and things like that. And this past summer is when I started actually reaching out more professionally to businesses and local tourism boards. And I've actually worked with a handful of them around Central New York now.
Very cool.
And I've, luckily been able to get some sponsored trips where, everything's covered for me. So I can go there and just enjoy, experience it. And then I go home and I write about it.
Now, how would that benefit, for example, my Skip Happens podcast or anybody that has a podcast?
What part?
Like getting us out there. Would an influencer would be writing about my podcast, would be taking pictures, would be...
Josh
is taking pictures of
what
us.
you don't see
Josh can promote
off camera.
Josh can
He's a
start
little
a
creeper
blog.
back there.
He is. He's went right to my TV screen up there. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay, we got you back now.
Yeah, he
There you
keeps
go.
talking about doing a craft beer blog, but
He should. He's
then
into
he says
craft
I
beer.
have to write it, and that's just more work for me.
Podcasts are the biggest thing right now.
They are.
There are so many
Yes,
different
it's
podcasts
so
out
hot
there.
right
There's
now.
some really cool podcasts.
Yeah.
I've only been doing this since April, and as I go, I learn. But I really want to get this out there a little bit more. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one thing that I'm on the radio every day. But the radio is radio. Now we've got the podcast. It's another avenue, and it's social media, and everybody, nowadays it's the thing.
Yeah.
And podcast, even though this is live right now, it's also recorded and it's online. So at any time, anybody can go back and watch it. They can stop it, go do something else, and come back and pick it up where they left off. So that's really cool. Now, but how would your company assist somebody like me or anybody that's doing a podcast?
So, anyone can create their own profile on the website, perlu.com.
Skip could.
Yeah, Skip could go on.
Okay.
Skip could do it.
Skip will do it.
And basically, the whole concept of the site is you start joining packs of things that match your interests, your expertise, your lifestyle, different things. So there's some sort of commonality. Think of it kind of like LinkedIn meets Facebook groups.
Okay.
So it's got the professional networking quality to it, but then it's got the commonality of the groups. And then you start, you can post your own collab opportunities, or you can have other people have posted collab opportunities, and you can work together and collaborate on different projects. And it could range to whatever you want it to be. And for someone who's really just starting out, that could be influencer to influencer. So it's, hey, I just started a podcast. I'd love to get the word out there. Can you share my podcast on your own social media, on your own websites? And, always do something in exchange. So in exchange, I'll share your stuff on my social media. And that way our audiences are getting exposed to each other. And, you grow.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll be doing that. And it's no cost to me.
No.
Nothing.
No.
Zero. Zilch.
No. It's free for you.
Then how does the company make money?
The brands aspect of it.
I got
so
you.
once you get
Okay.
into like huge multi-million-dollar brands who've got huge budgets, when they're starting to pay for projects, that's when the
Wow,
company makes
interesting.
money. Yeah.
Interesting. Love what you're doing. It's wanderlust-onabudget.com.
Yeah.
And I highly recommend that you go and check it out and read about all these trips. I don't know. Every time I turn around, you're somewhere else in the world. And
Yeah, it happens.
sometimes Josh is here, and other times he's gone with you.
Yeah.
So,
He's lucky sometimes he gets to go.
which is pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome. How many trips do you think you have taken?
Oh my God.
Seriously?
Really?
Yeah, really.
In my life?
Okay. Well,
And
these
what
are
do we qualify
these
as a
are
trip? Like
these
day
I,
trips, weekends?
No,
week
no,
long?
I look at this as more than just a trip. This is an adventure.
Yeah.
And it's when I say a trip, all right, it's like me going to Florida. It's a trip. You go on an adventure. You go like halfway around the world.
Yeah.
And so how many of those big trips do you think you've taken?
Big trips? So
And-
let's say international trips?
Yeah, okay. Good way to put it.
Okay.
International. Yes.
Are we counting Canada international?
No.
Well, we've all been to Niagara Falls, and we went across the Rainbow Bridge or whatever, and we've
I've
been on
been
the
to
other side.
Toronto
Yeah,
and Quebec
okay.
and Montreal, and I've explored a little bit.
Yeah, yep.
But international, well, I'm just going to list off the countries I've been to.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. So, Canada and Mexico.
2,
I've been to Belize and
3,
Honduras
4.
on a Caribbean cruise. Amazing. I spent about a week and a half in Brazil. So I was in Rio and Sao Paulo. We did Japan last year. I was in Tokyo for 2 weeks and another small city. I did a trip to Kuwait and United Arab Emirates. I've done a trip to London. Most recently was my most recent international trip was to England. We did Iceland last year. We did a trip for our first wedding anniversary. We did Europe when we did Prague, so Czech Republic,
Okay.
Munich in Germany, and
Saw the
Paris,
pics.
France. Yeah,
Yeah.
lots of pics. And then I lived in Australia, like I
Mm-hmm.
mentioned, for a year and a half. And while I lived there, I visited Vanuatu and New Caledonia when I did a South Pacific cruise. Super cool. Nobody knows what those places are unless they've seen one of the seasons of Survivor. It's the only time people know what Vanuatu is. They're like, Survivor was there. Yeah. But it's also an amazing place. Wonderful people.
Wow.
I think that's all of them.
Has anything, well, how many, both of you together, because if the husband doesn't go, I imagine you guys go together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's usually what ends up.
Yeah.
We do.
So how
we
many,
have another
Caitlin, how
friend,
many
yeah.
have you been out with her?
2.
2? Okay.
Two international.
But they were they were big. They were
Yeah,
adventures.
Those were big ones. Yeah.
We've
Yeah.
done a lot of weekend trips and stuff too.
Very cool.
More locally.
Very cool. Have you ever had something like major, like, what the hell just happened moment? Like traveling, like,
I mean, I had one in Thailand, but we went on the group that we did it through. One of the things was that we stayed in a remote village for a few days, and they took us on a hike, and it was through the jungle. They said it was moderate, and it was like up steep hills, down steep hills.
were you nervous?
Extremely.
Yeah.
And they were like, okay, we're going to stay. We'll give you guys a sleeping bag. We were in a hut, and I was next to my friend, and we're just like shoulder to shoulder. And we're like, oh my God, what did we sign up for?
Right.
But it was so much fun. But it was like oh no, like, are we going to trip and fall down this and not make it
right,
back home?
right. But obviously they've done that before,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So but it scared you,
Yeah.
not knowing what
Not
to
knowing.
expect. Wow. It's amazing. It's amazing what you've done. Wanderlust on a budget.
Yeah, thanks.
Wanderlust dash on a budget.com.
Yeah, the other one wasn't available. It is now, and I'm
I
like,
know,
do I
yeah,
switch it all over? Like, it's a lot of work.
It is. How did you come up with the name?
I've always loved the word wanderlust. I don't know, something about it has always kind of spoken to me. It just means a desire to see the world and to travel, which perfectly describes.
Is
my
that what
feeling.
that's
what
it
it
means?
means, yeah.
Wanderlust means? That is
Yeah.
awesome. That is awesome. I'm glad you brought this too.
Yeah.
Yeah, right,
That was
right.
Josh's last minute idea. I was like, should I bring any souvenirs?
The
Like,
marketing
a
department of
little thing.
Wanderlust dash.
He's definitely my best
onabudget.com.
PR person.
He does good. He does good.
Yeah, tells everybody he knows.
When he's not parking his truck in the way of everybody else. That's all I heard about today. So.
Yeah. But yeah, and the budget part is just, people always ask, how do you afford to do this? Oh my God, they're somewhere else again. Like, how do they have the money to do this? And that's one of the reasons I started it, was to share my tips and tricks and share, go to Chicago. You don't have to pay $30 to go to the top of the Willis Tower. You can go up to this floor and go to the bar, get a cocktail for
That's always a good
$15. Don't have to pay to go to the bar,
Then you
and
go
you
the
get the
rest of
same
the way.
view, and it's amazing.
After a couple of cocktails, then you've got the balls to go to the top. So
Well, I mean, you don't have to pay to go to the top anymore.
really? See, I've never done that in Chicago.
It's on my Chicago post. So
I've been to the top of
Little
the
trips like that.
Empire State Building, but I've never done that at the tower in Chicago. So,
do you know when the best time to go to the Empire State Building is?
when it's not windy
Well, that's true. Or probably raining or anything
or
like
raining.
that. Or
Yeah, that
storming.
too. Yeah.
Late at night. They're open until like 2 a.m.
Really?
And most people are
Okay.
like out sightseeing during the day and doing all their stuff. But we went after going to see a concert at Madison Square Garden.
Uh-huh.
Like 11:30 at night. I was like, hey, Empire State Building is on the way back to our hotel. It's open till 2 a.m. No crowds, no line, nothing. It was wonderful.
See, that's a good tip right
Tips and
there.
tricks.
See, tips.
Full of
and-
'em.
What else you got up your sleeve?
I got lots of them.
Well, let's hear them.
You can read
So-
it on Wanderlust.
You can.
All right, just give us a little
onabudget.com.
teaser. How about some other great? You've been doing this a lot. You're learning all this, or you have learned it, and now it's your opportunity to share it with others, because people need to get out. People need to see what's out there.
should,
The world is a beautiful place as long as we can have
It's so
peace.
beautiful.
It's amazing.
And to see the different countries that you've seen and been to is.
Yeah,
like
I
said
never would
earlier.
have thought this was
No?
possible.
Never thought, no.
Never would have thought it when I was growing up. The furthest I ever went was like the Adirondacks,
Mm-hmm.
which is amazing, by the way. I love the Adirondacks. One of the trips I actually had sponsored up for me was up there.
Awesome.
Love the Adirondacks so much. But, I didn't get, as far as distance, like that's kind of like the furthest I went. We went to New York City, we went to Niagara Falls. It was like New York State. And then, I started exploring outside the state. I'm like, wow, it's amazing. Other tips and tricks. What do we got? You got anything?
Airbnb is great.
Good point. Somebody, because I have a trip coming up for business to Nashville, and
Are
somebody
you
said
taking me with you? Because you should.
I'm going to Nashville.
I know you are. Yes.
Nashville is awesome because I do go there quite often on business. So Nashville is a great city, but usually I stay in this real. Well, I already made reservations. I am in the Omni Hotel this year, and it's like mega bucks a night. It's crazy. But somebody said, dude, you need to get an Airbnb. And then you start looking at the prices, and
They're
you're
a
going,
lot cheaper.
and a lot nicer.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did Airbnb.
And you have the
in
privacy,
Tokyo.
you have all that,
Yeah. The only thing with Airbnb, there's a couple things that I kind of hesitate to use it sometimes.
Why?
I mean, it's great in that it's usually more budget friendly. You get like a full place to yourself, blah, blah, blah. You feel more at home.
But you don't get the continental breakfast in the morning.
That's okay. But I mean, I would much
free
rather go to a
bagels.
local bakery or a local coffee
Yeah.
shop and get
Yeah,
breakfast
yeah.
than have a continental breakfast. In a
Oh, I
hotel.
hear you.
Yeah.
No,
So
I
I
hear
mean
you.
that doesn't bother me. But I mean, you got to be aware. There are articles out there that say that there's scams on Airbnb. People say like, "Oh, hey, you can rent my apartment," and then it ends up not being available. Again, that's super rare, and it doesn't really happen that often. But you just got to be smart when you're booking things. If anything feels weird, don't do it.
Yeah.
Go with your gut.
And then there are also places that are being overwhelmed with people, buying properties specifically for Airbnb, and where there's no like permanent residents in these areas. There's different areas in Europe that I know have actually banned Airbnb.
Really?
And
Really?
I think there's a quarter in New Orleans now that's starting to do that because so many people are just buying them just so that they can rent them out to make money, and then there's not any local community anymore. So
I have a
just gotta
friend of
be
mine
aware.
that actually has 2 Airbnbs in the Finger Lakes. That's all they do.
You can make a lot of money if you have one.
They do very well. They said you should be doing this. I'm
Yeah.
like, I don't want to do it.
It's a
I'm
lot of
afraid of-
responsibility.
I'm afraid, the responsibility of having it, keeping it clean. You got to hire somebody to clean up. You got to
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
somebody's got to be cutting the grass. Somebody's got to, to take care of the place. So
Yeah.
there's a lot of expense just to.
Definitely.
But then again, if it's constantly rented out,
Yeah.
you would
Yeah.
do very well. So, but you got to make sure that happens. What else you got? What else you got for us, Danny?
Always talk with locals. Any chance you have, even if it's, your Airbnb host or like the hotel concierge, always ask for their recommendations. They're always happy to give them to you. Don't be afraid to ask. That's always a really good one.
Research.
That's literally what I was just going to say. Planning.
I mean, when we went to Iceland, we found the one tour that we took. It was a local tour company, and they didn't charge anything. It was more of, at the end, you could pay tips if you wanted to. And it was a local guide who spoke English, and they showed us parts of Iceland that I don't think we would have
Seen otherwise.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Free
That's cool.
walking tours.
Free walking tours.
I think that one, it was like strawberry tours or something.
Yeah.
Made me think of the Beatles, like strawberry fields.
And just, research. We wouldn't have found the go-karting in Tokyo.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
If
would
you
have never
hadn't
even
looked at
thought
it.
It's amazing.
It's fantastic.
that.
I love it. But yeah, you just put in the time to research and you're going to save yourself so much hassle, so much time, and so much money.
I was going to ask about the money. What do you? Credit cards, or what do you recommend? What are the chances? You could get robbed.
I'm
Just, what do you? Did you use
Don't
credit
carry a lot of
cards?
cash.
No, I don't either.
Yeah, I
But
mean,
don't.
And look into the country, because some countries would rather that you pay with cash. Others say they'd rather have you pay with credit card, or that there's ATMs in different places. So, like, for instance, in Thailand, they preferred to have the paper money. But I went to Europe right after, so we had our credit cards because it was easier in Europe just to use credit cards. So it all depends on where you're going. But
What
most
about the
places-
exchange rate and all that? You should be on top of that, right?
Yes.
Do you
Yes.
exchange your money before you go to these countries?
sometimes. It actually depends. And when it comes to exchange rates and credit cards and things like that, it's always really good to do a little bit of research. So certain countries, first thing I do is always check the exchange rate. Like, what is the US dollar going to be equivalent to wherever I'm going? So then when you're looking at prices of things, you have a better idea of what you're actually spending. Is it actually more or less than the number I'm looking at? But then as far as exchanging money, sometimes it's necessary, sometimes it's really not. There are places I never exchanged money when I went to the Middle East. And I never had a single problem. Most places took credit card. Almost places preferred credit card.
I would prefer a credit card because number one, you're protected, right? And number two, it's they automatically exchange.
Yep.
Yes.
Most credit
And
card
you
companies,
get the best
you get a
rate.
better rate.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah. Then if you go to your bank or if you go somewhere, you're going to pay something.
What's in your pocket?
Not Capital One, actually.
Nope.
I use that. Yeah. Okay. Yes, Josh, that's what you have. You could have said that if you sat over there. But
But he's not.
One thing is too, if you look into the airlines, a lot of airlines or like American Express, you can build up points for
Yeah.
miles.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that helps in saving money too. Obviously, yes, you're spending money, but
To
you're
get the
still
miles,
earning
but
something.
Yeah.
you
from
need
it.
a lot of miles to get a free ticket nowadays. You
Yeah.
need a lot. They make it
That's why I don't
sound
really
so
get in that.
inviting. And I've been on the flights, even just the short ones to Nashville, where, hey, this flight only. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I know, right?
If we're going to be passing out the
Yeah.
applications, fill it out, you'd automatically get one free round trip ticket or whatever, But the credit card usually costs so much a year, and it's
Well, pay attention to
Yeah,
annual
yeah.
fees and things
yeah,
like that.
I usually just pass it by.
It depends.
No,
I've
thanks.
actually heard recently that sometimes the annual fees for what you get for it is actually worth it. I know a
Might
couple
be.
people who do it, and the value that they get out of it, they find greater than the $100 per year, whatever it is. But I actually use an Expedia credit card, and I do most of my booking and trips and stuff through Expedia because then I get like extra points on the card. I use it back to get hotels through Expedia. I've earned gold status for the last couple years, so that means I get extra discounts. I get some VIP access at certain hotels.
Because you're using Expedia. And
Yeah.
you've been using it so long, so you get the rewards.
Yeah, so
so to
there's
speak.
certain hotels on Expedia's site that are VIP access, and there's different levels. There's like silver and gold of VIP access, and I know Josh's favorite one was when we got our hotel in Munich. It was a VIP access, and that's really all they tell you. You don't really know. You know that Expedia's basically backed this hotel and said like, oh hey, it's a good place, and you're always going to get some type of perk when you get to the hotel. You don't always know what it is. Sometimes you'll get an email like a week before your trip. Oh, hey, you're coming, and we want to offer you a free cocktail as, welcome and happy hour when you arrive. Cool. But in Munich, we actually got upgraded to the highest floor, so we had a better view in our hotel room, and we had a free minibar. So we could for every day that we were there. So we could
That
have
worked
as much as we
perfect.
wanted out of the minibar, and they would restock it, and then the next day we could again have as much as we wanted. So
And do that
Josh
for
got
free.
his
now.
money for.
Yeah, absolutely.
He
What a great
definitely, he's like,
idea.
ooh, beer, ooh, gummies.
But he had to wear the lederhosen, right?
And no,
Munich.
you gotta, my
What?
lederhosen. So I had a really bad experience with that in Germany.
With lederhosen?
I don't
Not
even think I've
exactly.
heard
Is this a
story.
bad experience we want to hear about?
Yeah, no.
Okay,
well,
all right.
I mean, the
all
woman,
right. This
it
is
was,
in Munich.
yeah, it was
all
in
right.
Munich. I love Munich, by the way.
So-
Fantastic.
yeah, I've seen pictures.
If you've never been, you need to go to Munich. I fell in love with Germany. Never expected that to happen.
Uh-huh.
But anyway, I'm not a size 0, obviously. And it's never really a problem when I'm traveling. Sometimes you just got to find different shops and stuff to go into. But in Munich, we were walking down. Our hotel was in like the center business area, lots of shops around. So we walked by, and there was a shop only selling lederhosen. I was like, I'm probably not going to buy one, but I really want to go in and look at them.
Okay.
And I'm looking at the lederhosen and like the dirndls and stuff. And I was just looking at the rack, and the woman's like, we don't sell your size here. And I was like, oh,
Wow.
okay. I was just looking. How do you know I'm not buying it for
That's
a friend?
rude.
It was really rude.
You know,
so
I
now I
mean,
have like no desire to ever get like a dirndl.
Just to
or
come up to somebody and say, we don't sell your
I
size.
was like, okay, thanks.
So, well, I don't want to shop here anymore.
No, I didn't. We walked out. I was really upset.
Wow.
So I was like, you didn't have to be so rude about it. Like, okay.
No. Yeah.
I didn't even
Wow.
ask her. Like,
That's crazy.
yeah.
That's crazy. What? It's so much fun though, traveling like that. And everybody needs to get out and do it. You mentioned Expedia, but there's Orbitz. You say you do a lot on kayak, right?
Yeah.
You say kayak, and then Google Flights. I think Caitlin said.
Yeah. it's
Um,
like-
So
You
I
want
mean,
more?
I do Expedia. Usually that's where I book my flights.
Yeah.
Of course, I'm not
usually
going
good rates.
like around the world. I am just going a few miles to Nashville. But yeah, I usually use Expedia, or I'll go right to the airline. So
Yeah, airlines, sometimes you'll get good deals from them too, but sometimes you'll get better ones. If you want to hear a couple other apps, I got some
yeah,
other good
please. What are they?
ones. My other favorite for hotels is Hotel Tonight. He's like, yeah, I'm glad you said it.
Okay, Hotel Tonight.
Hotel Tonight basically offers you the lowest rate possible for a hotel that night. When they first started the app, it was literally for that night or the next night. But now you can book out a little bit in advance. The rates aren't as good though. But what I like to use Hotel Tonight when I used it in Nashville.
Okay.
So we like to do a lot of road trips, and we don't always know exactly where we're going to end up staying for the night, depending on what we end up doing during the day. So sometimes I'll book the hotel in advance, but other times I'll be like, all right, where are we stopping for the night when we get tired? And then I end up going on Hotel Tonight, look for the hotels in the area and which ones give me the best rate. So, and it's significant. So when we were in Nashville, stopped in Nashville for the night and found this hotel on Hotel Tonight, looked it up, and it was like $80 or something for the night, like $88. I'm like, all right, that's pretty good. So like, I don't know, I've never used this app before. Let's call the hotel. Let's see what they say. The hotel told me cheapest rate tonight is like $140.
Wow.
Really? And they're like, yeah, that's the cheapest rate we can offer you. And it's like, well, I just had an app that said it was like $88. And she's like, you should probably use the app then.
Well, yeah, because they probably can't.
Yeah,
You know.
no, they couldn't do it. And so basically it's like the hotel's not advertising it directly. It's like through this third party, so they can offer,
And that's
rock
called
bottom.
Hotel Tonight.
Hotel Tonight.
So, and it's for that night.
You can use it up to, I think now they go out like 90 or 120 days. The rates aren't as good, because basically a hotel wants someone in a bed.
I
You're
may
going to get
use
some
that.
kind of money
Yeah.
I may use
versus
that.
having an empty room.
I've been talking about my trip to Nashville, which is coming up rather quickly. I don't have a hotel for the first night.
Hotel tonight. Yeah.
So wait till
great.
I get there and
You
go
don't, I
on.
mean, you can look at it now and see what kind of rates you could get.
I mean,
but
all
you know,
I-
even as it gets closer,
I'm just
they'll
looking.
drop.
I'm not checking into the big hotel until the next night or the next day. So I need to, and when I land, I don't know, somewhere close to the airport, and I'm fine. Take an Uber or
Yeah.
whatever, and there I am. So
Yeah. I used it in Philly, and I had the
hotel
same
tonight.
same response. The woman at the front desk was like, "Wow, you got a really good rate on this room." And I was like, "Yeah, I did. I did my research." It was a really nice hotel.
What other apps you got?
Road Trippers is a good one.
Road Trippers.
Yeah, so if you like to go on road trips and you want to find cool things to do along the way, Road Trippers, you can actually map out your trip. Say, like, I'm starting in Syracuse and I'm going to Nashville. I'm driving, and then you can set a distance of how far you're willing to go off route, so off the main highway, and then search
Great
by
idea.
category. So you can look for breweries along the route, or maybe national parks, or whatever, museums, kids activities, all sorts of things, and it'll pop them up and show you, oh hey, this one is out of 10 miles off your route. You want to add it to your trip, and then it redoes your whole itinerary. It estimates your distance, your time, and your gas.
Really?
It estimates it all for you. Yeah,
How come I didn't know about any of this?
you don't read the blogs.
I only read the first few lines.
Few sentences.
If you're going,
Just being honest.
I'd rather someone be honest, though. Honestly, another one I really like is Wanderoo. So it's like wander with a U.
Wander you.
Wanderoo, yeah,
All one word.
all one word.
Wander you.
That one is really, really good if you are not flying. So if you're looking for bus or train travel, they actually take all the different bus and train lines, Greyhound, Amtrak, all
Love
of
the
them.
train. Love the train.
Yeah, that's what we use usually to go to New York City.
Right,
Is we'll go on
exactly.
Wanderoo, see is it a bus or a train that's cheaper that day, and they'll compile all the best results and give you.
I'd
the
rather
best
be on a
prices.
train. I like the train.
I like the train too.
Train's pretty
Train's
cool.
pretty
How many
relaxing.
train trips? Did you do the Eurail? What do they call it? Over in Europe? What do they call the rail?
There's different.
Eurail?
It depends where.
I don't know. You guys
The
are looking at me
where
like,
you are. I didn't take a train in Europe.
no. Okay, never mind. Then. But
So sorry.
No,
I took a bus.
But some people see a lot of the countryside in Europe. They buy a pass. I think it's a Eurail pass.
Yeah.
And they can travel throughout Europe.
You can do that all over too. You can do it in the U.S.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think Greyhound does like different. There's names for them, but there's certain routes, and you can hop on and hop off as much as you want, like stop in different cities. That's actually one of the
I
things
see
I really wanna
Amtrak
do.
has been advertising like a coast to coast type of thing.
Yeah.
So, but you got to have time to do it. And most of us in our
Exactly.
daily life, can't take more than a few days off from work. And
Yeah. I actually did it in Australia. So funny story, I lived in Australia. I was not the first exchange student that my host family hosted. They had hosted a girl from Belgium a couple years prior. And while I was living there, she came back to visit, just happenstance, and said that her friend was with her and they wanted to go travel up through Queensland. So like the northern rainforesty area. And I had nothing to do because I was on school holidays, because their holidays over there are ridiculously long. They really were. I felt like I was not in school more than I was in school in Australia. Kind of ridiculous. But she was going up there and they're like, hey, you want to come with us? You can book your own flight and come on with us. I'm like, okay, I don't know you people, but I'm going to go with you because it's an experience that I wouldn't have otherwise. So we actually flew from Melbourne up to Brisbane. Beautiful city. And then we booked a train pass, hop on, hop off as much as you want,
Love
from
that.
Brisbane up to Townsville, which is close to the northern tip, not quite all the way north. I did go there, but that was a disappointment because it was foggy and I couldn't see anything. But so we did that and we hopped on and hopped off. We did Great Barrier Reef stuff.
Oh, wow. Wow.
Some pretty cool things. Stopped in a few cool cities up there. So that was nice, kind of do whatever you want.
well, it's amazing what you've done. I keep saying that, but it just, I knew you traveled, but I had no idea. In our holiday conversations here over a shot or a beer, all this did not come up. So.
There's too many people for that.
Yeah, it gets a little crazy, but wow. So, we got people saying hello.
Oh, hey.
Anthony Lyle.
Oh, hey. Hi, Tony. How are you?
Oh, Tony. Okay, there's Tony. Chris.
It's okay.
Chris D. Genova.
Hi, Chris. He's one of Josh's coworkers.
Awesome. Kim
Yeah.
Main.
Awesome. That's Tony's wife. They're watching together apparently.
You got Gracie Jarvis.
Gracie.
There you
I'm
go.
gonna give a shout out to Gracie now since she's watching.
Okay.
Gracie actually runs her own podcast.
Really? Gracie,
Yeah.
get your ass over here. We'd love to get you on
She's
Skip
due
Happens.
in like 2 weeks. Like she's not coming over here anytime soon. She's got
Well,
a little one coming.
That's all right. That's all right. I can tell you a story about that too. Maren Morris, who's a country artist, is expecting a baby. Okay, which is really cool.
It's my favorite country song right now,
She
though.
is The Bones.
Yeah, Josh is so annoyed because I ask to listen to it every single day.
I have to hear it every day.
It's great.
But no, it is a good song. It is a good song. But she's pregnant. She's expecting, I want to say, the first week in March. Her due date is the same day that she's performing at the Houston Rodeo.
Oh,
So they said this could be
foreplanning.
I guess.
I don't know
but,
if that's gonna happen.
but as it's still on. So she's still doing it. So just saying. All right.
Maybe. She
right.
might still be doing it.
So Gracie, it's
Oh.
okay. You can come over and be on the podcast. If you got to leave in a hurry, just get up and go. Because I will not stop you.
But yeah, if anyone's into horror movies, Gracie and one of her friends run a podcast called Good Morning Nancy. Morning spelled as in like the death morning.
Oh my gosh.
And they talk about like feminism and horror movies and like the intermingling of the two. It's actually a lot of fun to listen
They
to.
should get Ashley on that. My niece, Ashley.
They have talked to her before. Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So,
Wow.
yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. So many cool things out there. So
But,
many creative people.
this podcast is open to anybody that wants to come in. You've got a podcast and you want to stop by and hang out. We do that. This is your first, though, right? This is the first
Yeah.
time. So, yeah, I mean, you'll be
Yeah.
back. You'll be back.
If you
It's
invite me back.
Wanderlust.
Yeah.
See that? We're advertising. Wanderlust dash
On a budget.
on budget. It's on a budget because you make it happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
.com.
Caitlin, anything?
No.
Just wanted to come and hang out.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's cool. That's cool. What's in that big thermos?
Water.
Oh,
Yeah, very exciting. We both have our stainless steel water.
that thermos could fill a swimming pool.
It really could. It's gigantic.
It is, but it's good. You're drinking water.
I don't
But
have to fill
you've
it
had you and Danny been friends for a while.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, so that's
It's all
why.
that guy's fault.
Yeah, well, that's
Yeah.
okay. That's cool. That's good. He's a good guy. He's a
Yeah.
good guy.
Yeah, he's all right.
Even though, yeah. Just saying. He knows that. Anyways, thanks for coming by, man.
Thanks
it's been
for
some
having me.
great information. It's
Yeah.
wanderlust-onabudget.com.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. Go to the website, read the blog more than just the first couple of lines.
Please? Hey, come on.
No, I glanced at it and I will read it all. I was like, as a matter of fact, if you don't believe me, when we get up and we walk upstairs, you can ask my wife about it because I said, wow, look at this. I actually complimented your website.
Thank
I was
you.
talking to Nancy about it and I said, this is really, really awesome.
That's some
This
cool
is
features.
I
on
said,
there.
how long has she been doing this? Oh my God. Because I didn't read it all, but I did
Just
scroll.
click through a couple of
I
minutes.
did scroll really quick. I don't know. Can you and see if we can bring it up there on the TV a little bit? So operator Josh over there, maybe he can, and then you can see at least what the website looks like. So yeah, no, that's
Oh,
the
Eva
porn
said hi.
site.
Hi, Eva.
No, I'm kidding.
Yeah, there's a couple other cool things on there. I've got like maps, U.S. and international maps that color in where I've been.
All right, now go to the right corner and
Oh,
it'll
look at
say
that.
cast up on top, little dots.
I feel like I'm in the way.
You're not in the
Why
way.
are you in the way? It's a computer screen.
I know.
It'll be above your head.
Um,
Maybe. See dots? Yeah. Do you see cast? Yep, which one? Top one. Okay, it's going to disconnect. Now go cast now.
Ooh,
There it is. And
fancy. That's me.
all right, Josh, if you could take that camera. This is behind the scenes talk here and just kind of turn it a little bit towards the TV. Now bring it up and I will try to zoom in. So there it is. So that's what the website looks like. And let's see here. It should go up to that, which is really cool. And Robert Crabtree. Danny, you're doing a great job.
Oh, hey, thanks. He always says nice things about
Who's
us. He's our
Bob?
next door neighbor.
Who's Bob? Oh,
He
he's your
likes
next
us.
door neighbor?
Yeah, he's a
How
good
cool.
neighbor. Yeah.
Oh, cool. So I don't know. It should be up there. But all right. Well, you can turn that back to us, I guess. But anyways, There it is.
But yeah, I do a lot of local stuff, as well as my international. Joshua, turn the camera back. Thank you. I love you.
Right there. Whoa, whoa. You took Caitlin out of the picture. A little more. Right there. Whoa, there you go. Okay, we're good.
happens?
We're good. So, yeah.
But yeah. So,
So
lots
cool.
of local things, lots of, US things, international. I kind of keep it open, whatever kind of tips and tricks and cool stories I've got. And you also might see me if you're ever on the Visit Syracuse website. I'm a guest blogger for them.
Really?
Yeah. So I do once a month.
Yeah, I do
And-
check that out. I never noticed.
Yeah. So I
I'll
do
have
once
to-
a month. I do an article for them. And then the print travel guide that's coming out shortly will also have an article by me,
Really?
which is pretty
So
exciting.
look, it's
Super excited about
of
it.
course, Danny Benjamin, right?
Yeah.
You're going by Danny? Okay. I'm just
Yeah.
making sure. Okay. All right.
Yeah.
I got it. I got
Yeah.
it.
I'm a
Is
Benjamin.
Caitlin writing it all? Or you're just hanging out?
I read it.
She reads it.
I proofread
Sometimes
it.
she proofreads
More
for
than
me.
first a couple.
Where I was like,
couple of
hey,
lines.
Read
you
the
were
whole
with
thing.
me on this trip. Does this sound right to you?
Do I need to add anything?
She's a pro when it comes to all that. I'm sure you both are. So really, it's really awesome. Thanks for hanging out with Skip Happens.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
It's a podcast that this is something that's kind of enjoyable and fun. There's other times where it's real serious, and there's other times it just all hell breaks
Don't
loose
invite
down
me on
here.
the serious days.
It was a
No,
lot of fun.
you
It was
guys are
fun.
welcome to come by anytime.
All right.
And Skip Happens Studio's always here. So
All right. I know
And,
where you live.
I know you do.
I do too now.
And you know where my booze is. You know where my bathrooms are. You know where
I'm all set.
our
I
house
could
is.
walk
your
here.
house.
We're good.
I know. I love it. All right, so there you go. It's Skip Happens, and of course, Danny and Caitlin, and from wanderlust-onabudget.com.
Yeah.
Go to the website, read the blogs. What's with all the?
The skulls? That was from our trip to the catacombs in
I don't know if you
Paris.
can see it in the corner of this picture here. There you go. I got it. Don't touch anything. All right, there you go. Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
where was that?
The catacombs in Paris.
That is
A
so
lot of
cool.
skulls. Yeah.
Is that like
Millions
creepy?
of bodies underground. Yeah. It's
Right,
really cool.
Josh, I can't read that fast.
That's actually one of the things. So I've got a couple different like niches that I focus on. One of them being like local travel, Syracuse. One of them being like craft beer and wine. So we go to a lot of breweries and wineries. And the other one being like haunted and kind of eerie travel. So we got the catacombs and like haunted asylum. I was invited to
Scared
do
to
some
death.
coverage out in Rochester.
It's one thing going there, but when the lights would go out at night, no,
Don't watch
would-
the movie that I talk about in this then.
I won't.
It's really creepy. Really good.
All right.
Really good. Gracie would agree. But
It's Caitlin and Danny, wanderlust-onabudget.com. Check out the website. Thanks for hanging.
Yeah,
it's so
thank
good. We
you.
got a great family, and you're part of it. And of course, our house is your house. And the podcast, anytime you want to come over here and jump on, ladies, you can do that. And have some
Alrighty.
fun. And just don't bring Josh. We're all good. But he's leaving. No, it's all good. It's all good. It's what I always